And the goal is to bring you your next favorite band.
Sweet, that intro is my new favorite band. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to be on.
Yeah. I heard a rumor that you might be able to play that song live today.
You heard correctly. Yes.
Excellent. So,
good enough for Robert.
I don't know when I rock out here on your next favorite band and show.
and listen, it's going to be everybody's favorite band.
Phil, you weren't supposed to make me get all... God almighty,
But this
Phil.
is why we do it.
Like, seriously. I gotta gather myself. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
Welcome to your next favorite band. That's both the show title and our promise to you. We here at Stereophilia Studio are tireless in our pursuit of finding incredible, genre-defiant artists who are either a hot, up-and-coming band or a group that has been delivering for years but have flown under the radar.
Tonight, we have the honor of learning more about vettix.org with Chief Strategy Officer Stephen Weintraub.
Each month, we will bring you live streams, audio podcasts, and perhaps even a live concert where you can listen to the stories and hear the music of artists personally curated by us based on what we feel will be worthy of your time. Be sure to subscribe and tune in to each episode because the possibilities are endless and you never know who will be
Your next favorite band.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Philip Reese, and you are listening to Your Next Favorite Band. Sans David today. David couldn't join us, but we are extremely excited to bring on an organization that I'm pumped to learn more about and hopefully share how we can all play a role. Vettix.org is an organization that supplies tickets to different events to veterans and first responders. So we'll learn more about that from Chief Strategy Officer Stephen Weintraub. And it's a really great story. It is a really special thing that's going on there. But before we get to that, we are less than 1 week to the Music Fest Exordium and about 10 days away from the festival actually happening. I guess 9, is that 8? 8. Because of preview night, but 9 till the actual opening night. But here's the details on the Exordium one more time. The next time you tune in, it will be the Exordium. And Tuesday, July the 30th, 7 p.m. is a start time. We're starting a little earlier that night because it probably will be a 2-hour extravaganza, if you will. We are going to do it live from the Flying V Poutineery, so we do get to spend time with them to learn about how the potatoes are doing and their prep for being a 10-day music fest food truck option. 2 of them, in fact, one on north side, one on south side, which is always fun to hear what they're doing with that. Must-see bands with Patrick Brogan. He's the program director and been doing it for so many years that it's always great to hear his take on which are the must-see bands, so that's going to be fun. Obviously, super important weather. The fear is now just as important as thunderstorms is heat, because you want to make sure you're not going to go on a day that you just burst into flames. And so Bobby Martrich does an amazing job of the prognostication on the weather. A couple other guests there in particular. Obviously, it's always so cool to kick off some music. So 2 live performers that night, Cass Noel and Mr. No Name, and then some other surprises in the works. So excited for that. Also, don't forget, each day of the festival, we go live from Godfrey Daniels, 3 p.m. each day to give you picks for that day. And we do the more urgent weather updates in case there's something going on right in that moment or that day to be aware of. And then also, again, special guests. Some people already on the list: Arkai, Blair Crimmins, Mike and Shannon Maines, the poster designer for this year, Lauren Beck. And who else? We got a bunch of other ones in there that are going to be super fun. That some are announced, some are stuff we're keeping secret. And you'll just have to subscribe and tune and give us a follow at NextFaveBand. Or you can go to nextfaveband.com to stay on top of everything. So enough about that. We are going to get to the guest. There's a quick video that gives us a good kind of overview of the Vettix organization. And then we'll bring Stephen on the show and we'll learn even more about it. So here, vettix.org, sorry.
I love helping out veterans just because I've been in their shoes. It really does make you forget about some of the stuff you're going through for an hour or 2, 3 hours.
You know, there were a lot of things that were missed, birthdays, holidays. So it's sort of a reward for everything that you had to give up previously.
It's hard to be able to take your family anywhere. Like the costs involved and sort of all of those barriers, they kind of remove that barrier and allow you and your family to kind of meet and do something out and just cool experiences.
I've seen the Islanders, I saw Taylor Swift, I saw Kenny Rogers.
I would not be able to go to these events if it wasn't for VetTix. You know, being middle class, kind of, work paycheck to paycheck like so many Americans do.
VetTix opened up a whole new world for me for the time that I've been able to spend with my daughters. We go to different concerts, different plays, different musicals, comedy shows, real good father-daughter bonding experiences.
As a single mom, it gives me the opportunity to take my daughter and her 2 friends to experience an awesome live event that I don't think they would have got to experience otherwise.
We're from Reno, Nevada. Coming down to the Sharks game, that's a treat. I can't afford to come to all these things. It's great that VetTix throws tickets out to veterans and get us to come out and see other veterans and thank them as well as be out with them and their families as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Vettix.org. Welcome to the show, Chief Strategy Officer Stephen Weintraub.
Thanks for having me, Philip. And I just finished up my snack in the green room, so still have food in my mouth.
There you go.
Okay. And
the virtual snacks in the virtual green room.
Exactly. and my apologies because my virtual drum kit is in there too, so I'm not going to be able to play anything live for you today.
Are you a drummer? Are you a player?
I just enough to sound bad. Yeah. I played when I was younger. So yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm better on the air drums.
That's good. Still counts. But first of all, thank you for your service. You served 32 years in the Marine Corps. And then I wanted to get into your story on the lead-in. One, to honor your story because it's an amazing journey, but also it, I think, maybe helps paint a little bit of the picture of not only how the organization formed, but how important this is as a service to veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I retired from the Marine Corps 32 years, retired as a full bird colonel. And I was enlisted. I started enlisted, became an officer, and I was a hybrid because I spent time on active duty. I spent time in the reserves. So I've kind of experienced a lot of different aspects of service. But, I was deployed to Iraq twice, been to other places, war zones and things like that. And so that's where, for me, I guess that's why one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this organization and the mission, because I've been on the other side of it where, when you're serving your country, you miss family events. It might be, weddings, anniversaries, birth of a child, conception of a child. That was a joke, but you got it. You got it.
You were on a roll. It did just blow right past me. But
but you miss these life events.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
When we can send our members to these events, in essence, for free to make up for that lost time, and rebuild those family bonds. And in the intro, there was a lot of sports there, but 50% of the events that we have tickets for our live music is live entertainment, and that's so impactful for our members.
Yeah, and back to kind of your you were highly decorated. I knew you wouldn't say it, so I wanted to take a moment to say that you earned the Legion of Merit, 2 Meritorious Service Medals, and Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal, as well as others. But I wanted to again kind of point out you've had an incredible career there. But I think that one part was when I was researching it, I thought was the interesting thing, and again speaks to the importance of this, was I guess budget hits where you become more of it in the reserves, and then there's this transition to civilian life that's difficult. And I just thought maybe speak to that a little bit, because that's again where the the interesting part about the universe providing is you find this path to the founder of this organization, and then it ends up becoming another wave of giving back that you're doing.
Yeah. And thank you for the kind words. And look, I mean, when I got off active duty, it was after Desert Storm. So I'm old AF. Okay. I'm really old. But I did one tour active duty, and then there was a big purge after Desert Storm. People, involuntarily having to leave the service. They didn't have a choice, and that was me. And so it was really hard to transition out of the military back then because there weren't the resources and the support that there is today.
Sure.
But I mean, since then, I been mobilized multiple times on active duty, one time for 3 years and things like that. But the transition, it doesn't matter if you were served for 4 years or 14 or 30. It's hard to it's very challenging for some people, for most, because you become institutionalized. So even though it's a culture shock to join the military, leaving the military is just as much of a culture shock.
Sure.
You've been, again, so institutionalized into a regimented lifestyle, and you get out, and now you don't have those guardrails, the things that you relied on that, gave you the direction. So it is a challenge to, for most of us. And again, that's where, like, for me to give back and to be able to I say pay it forward, or others in their transition, so they don't have to, experience the things that I did. But it happens, sadly.
Yeah. So you, in that kind of like civilian life side of things, pursue a master's in business administration, and then you start to volunteer and become a board member of the VetTix organization. And
and I mean, that's where VetTix was created in 2008, and it was a startup, and our founder and CEO, Mike Focareto, Navy veteran, he was at the Super Bowl. We're based in Phoenix, in Tempe, Arizona, and so he was at the Super Bowl in 2008 with his buddy, and he was working on this kind of self-improvement project, and part of it was to do something good in the community. So as a Navy veteran, he wanted to bring a bunch of veterans to a baseball game, over Memorial Day. But he's at the Super Bowl, him and his buddy's a vet. They're sitting there. The color guard goes on the field. They do the national anthem. They march off, and they were escorted to a mezzanine area where they were able to stay. It was standing room only. They didn't have seats for them. But he looked around, Mike did. There was empty seats in the Super Bowl, and there was a couple next to him. So he was like, wait a minute, if there's empty seats at the Super Bowl, I need to ratchet up my project a little bit more. And that was the genesis of VetTix. So it was a startup, literally out of his garage, and he started it. And
I love this too. Wasn't it? He was taking a self-help course, and that the project that he was assigned was to do something that would make the community better.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so fun. Like, what a great story.
Yeah, and it's another one of those classic stories of, you start something out of your garage, and you kind of have this idea, and then you see the impact that it starts having on the community. And I became involved, kind of on the periphery, as they were a startup, and I reached out to the leadership, and I said, hey, because I was still in the reserves at the time.
Sure.
So this was 2008. And I said, look, if I can help, I love what you guys are doing. I love the concept. If I can help you guys, leveraging my networks in the military or in the veteran space, please let me know how I can help. So that's how I became involved with VetTix. And so they would, the leadership, we would meet from time to time and kind of chat about different things. And I'd ask, hey, how do you do this? Why do you do that? Or whatever.
Sure.
And so, in 2016, they reached out to me and brought me on as the chief strategy officer, because they were like, hey, we want to bring the organization, up to the next level. And that was in 2008. Shortly after I came aboard, we had distributed our 3 millionth ticket, which was really cool.
Sure.
It was a big milestone. So fast forward, it's July, almost August of 2024, and like last week we eclipsed distributing our 23rd million.
Yeah, the X million tickets given away, then 2 years ago was 10 million, and then 6 months ago was 20 million. Now you're already at 23 million. It's like, it's amazing, because I think people are just starting to understand the ease and the importance of this. What you and I were talking about right before we came on, I think is important to point out here too, because it pivots to the other half of this as to why it's so huge. One is, honor these people who served, treat them, with that, like you talked about it, they sacrificed birthdays and such. So now give them these memories as a thank you, as an appreciation, but also the mental health portion of it, that being part of a shared experience and being around, these types of things, whether it is a sporting event or a music event or whatever, that can help maybe someone who's battling anxiety or depression or substance abuse, whatever. Like, these might be those elements of giving them happiness and hope that tomorrow is going to be better. So there's that part too, that's like, whether it is PTSD or just that difficulty of transition to civilian life, like there's these elements too that this can help that person in a way that, again, if it's as easy as donating tickets or donating funds or whatever, like that's something we should want to do for people who put it all on the line for the country. I mean, like, that's just something we should be all signing up for.
Well, yeah, and you hit on a couple of topics there. One is that it's people suffer, or they have different challenges and how they cope with them and things like that, and our organization, Veteran Tickets Foundation, but it's also for currently serving members of the military.
Sure.
And even when you're serving, you have these different challenges. And one of the thank you notes that we got was from an active duty Marine, and he said, "Hey, I'm at this event with my fellow Marines. I'm stationed in California, but my family is back east, and attending this event with my Marines is my other family.
Yeah.
And this really helps me with my PTSD."
Sure.
So the organization was created. Our motto is give something to those who gave.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a way to give back. So, but the things that you're talking about, those were secondary orders of effect.
Sure.
That's not why we created the organization. But what we found was by people attending these events, it's helping them with, the reintegration or their challenges or things like that, again, was not even a thought when this started.
There was even, and I thought this was interesting when I read it, was some people are nervous about being in a crowded space or with loud noises, but people were finding that these experiences were actually helping with that anxiety, even though it was a crowded space with loud noise. It was just one of those things that I guess because it could be trusted, that it helped them say, okay, it's not so bad or whatever. Again, I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. It's more that it was an amazing, stunning thing to read, that it was actually helping from a therapeutic standpoint almost.
Exactly. And the cool thing is that, the tickets that we get donated, a lot of times they're from, performers,
sure,
management companies, venues, things like that, or teams or whatever. And a lot of most times they're, if it's in a venue, like a seating area,
sure,
the tickets are in the same section. So
that's
same
great.
road, blocks,
Right.
things like that. So when you're sitting there as a VetTix member, you're sitting, whether you know it or not, usually among your tribe.
Sure.
And that's kind of gives them kind of like that safe space.
Sure.
So again, secondary order of effect,
Mm-hmm.
but it helps a lot of them because they're with other, their brothers and sisters who, kind of wore the same cloth, and
Sure.
it gives them that sense of belonging.
Yeah. I thought another neat thing about it was the repeat usage by the same person. And again, I think that first time they probably have concern or anxiety. And then when it goes well, they well, now I want to do it again with these same people. And so I thought that was a great part about it too, was like, this isn't just like a one-time use. Like people can rely on it to be there for certain, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, and it's funny because a lot of times, like we'll see on social media, this is a scam, this is too good to be true, this isn't legit or whatever, and people are like, well, hey, how do you think I went to saw Metallica, or things like that, right? And so then it's like they see it works, and I'll say they rely on it, but again, it's like for them, they go to an event. They have that experience, and then they go to more events, and it progressively, again, helps them with, their depression, isolation, or making new friends out in that space. So it's so cool to watch it work.
Sure. Yeah. You touched on who's eligible. We should probably spend a moment there because obviously there's some nuance, like you said, either currently enlisted or former military, but also first responders. There's an element to this where it's actually slightly labeled differently, but it's still the same organization and function. It's called firsttix.org is the website to go to for first responders. But if you don't mind, maybe just run down anyone who can maybe reach out to see if they could, tap into this.
Yeah. And on the First Tix side, it's all honorably discharged veterans of all eras. So it's not just post 9/11. I mean, we've got like a 90-year-old like World War II veteran who on his smartphone, he goes to events.
Good for him.
VetTix. So it's veterans of all eras, and currently serving members of the military, and that includes Guard and Reserve. Mm-hmm. On the VetTix side. On the First Tix side, in 2018 we created First Tix, which is the same exact organization for first responders. So police officers, firefighters, EMS, 911 dispatchers, and current and former. And you don't have to be retired as a former. So maybe you were a police officer or a firefighter for 5 years and you're doing something else. You upload your credentials through the process and you get verified, and it's free to join. There's no fee to join. We verify your status, and then you start getting daily emails about events in your local area. And there's no, hey, Philip, we see you signed up and you haven't put in for an event, in a year. So if you don't use it, we're going to drop you. It doesn't work that way. It's the events you want to, if you're waiting for the right event or whatever, you put in for it.
Sure.
You see it in your emails, and is how it works. It's that easy.
Yeah, and it's a sophisticated system. It's homegrown by Mike, right? It's a system built by you all. Which the important reason to mention that is that means it's not like some third party shoehorned in. It's specifically custom software built for this purpose.
Yeah, and that's where we our Mike and our tech team, they created proprietary software to make all this happen. But here's the cool thing, Philip, is that our software speaks with the software like for Ticketmaster or some of these other ticketing softwares that venues use. So they integrate and they talk to each other. So it's a seamless transaction from the venue or the management company or whatever, transferring those tickets electronically to VetTix. And, and you talked about the exponential growth, and that's where, COVID kicked our whole industry right in the gut. I mean, it was terrible for us, for the live entertainment industry. But what it did for us, the positive was a lot of venues went ticketless, paperless. And so that's where we were able to, again, exponentially distribute more tickets, get more tickets because they were paperless. So, putting a bunch of tickets, hard tickets in an envelope and mailing them to us, and then us having to mail them to the recipients, that takes time and money. So now with paperless tickets, everything on your mobile device, it makes it that much quicker and easier
and dependable, right? Like you could be waiting on tickets and they got unfortunately lost in the mail or destroyed in the mail, and suddenly now you don't have the ticket to go to the
Yeah,
game.
like you show up at the turnstile and you're like, my dog ate my tickets.
Right.
You let me in?
Here's this email I have that promised them to me.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. Yeah, and I think too, it's not like you mentioned, was mostly sports centric in the video, but had some music, and it's certainly applicable to music. Like you said, it's about 50%, but it's also even like monster truck events and rodeos. It's basically anything that could be ticketed, if I understand it right. If the donation is there and the interest is there, then there you go.
Yeah. The only tickets, like the only kind of events we don't take, donations for are basically like political events.
Sure.
That, but so I mean, if it's a food truck festival, performing arts, but again, a lot of music festivals.
Yeah.
We get tickets, or hey, if your listeners, viewers are out there and they know of a festival, or they're working with a management team or something like that. Again, the more tickets, the better, because the more people show up. And that's, Philip, here's the thing is that, what we do is altruistic. Okay. But our donors, we have over 50,000 donors. And, so again, performers, promoters, things like that, but it's altruistic, but there's a business side of it as well. And our donors know that, because empty seats don't sell food, beverage, and merchandise.
Sure, right.
And so if you're a venue, but even if you're like a promoter, and your artist is up there on stage, or the band is up there on stage, they don't want to be looking at the third row and see empty seats. Or if it's a GA, they don't want to see like 50% of the crowd up front, and nobody anywhere else. So again, that's where the performers, they obviously vibe off of the crowd. So the more people that are there, is great for the performers.
Yeah, totally agree with all of that. Yeah. And one of the things to touch on here is the way we all got connected, to make this particular moment happen, was you recently got into a connection with Arts Quest, which is our local, basically a kind of cultural organization here that puts on Music Fest, but stuff year round. And so it sounded like there was some donations previously, but now it's a more formal connection. I didn't know if you wanted to take a moment to talk about the connection with Arts Quest.
Yeah. That's where, sometimes we pop up on people's radars like that. And it's like, oh, what's VetTix? Or somebody in the organization's like, hey, do you guys donate to VetTix? Or somebody will be like, hey, so they're kind of like, what's VetTix? What is this thing or whatever?
Sure.
So then they donate a couple tickets, and, there's no cost to donate as a donor. There's no contracts. You're not binding. If you want to donate 10 tickets, great. Again, there's no cost to you to do that as a donor. And then it's like, wait a minute, like these tickets got claimed like that. Like let's donate more. And so these these donors they'll do that. And then they're like, and the other thing is that people show up. We have a high show up rate, utilization rate, scan rate. It's usually on average about 87%.
Nice.
So when these tickets are claimed, the people show up, and they're full disclosure, there's a nominal delivery fee for the tickets, and that's skin in the game.
Yeah,
a couple bucks for tickets, you're going to use them.
That's true.
It's like you got these tickets, and your wife's like, hey, the neighbors are having a barbecue, and it's like, well, we have these tickets to the show. I paid for them. We're going to go.
No, you're right. Absolutely true. Yeah.
Right. And again, that's important to our donors. So there's a nominal delivery fee, skin in the game, which means that the people show up. And again, that's important to our donors, because they're like, wait a minute, we donated and people actually showed up.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great.
And the other part is that since we're a 501c3, the donor gets the tax write-off for the face value of the tickets, whether the tickets get claimed or not, or regardless, or whether they use that, they're in our donor account database. You have an account as a donor with us. So after the donation, You can go into your donor account and pull down, download the tax document that
The documentation, yeah.
use, to claim, for your IRS, taxes that, this was a, donation, taxable donation.
Totally. Yeah. And the last thing I kind of wanted to kind of loop it back around to like what we do and such is we're doing more and more live in-person events. And one in particular is dedicated to mental health. And I just think it would be, based on the response from last year, people definitely got a lot out of hearing these musicians' stories of struggle. They're songs that are powerful, that speak to it. That would love to kind of talk about ways that we can get tickets available to people who would be interested in that type of a thing. For the listeners, breaking news: Listen to the Distance in 2025 will be on February 28th, and it's moving to a Friday. Last year it was on a Sunday, which was nice, but I think a Friday will have a different kind of draw as well. So believe it or not, we work on these things about 7-8 months in advance. But that's out there, and I think again we can chat about ways that we can donate some tickets to that, so we can get some veterans and first responders to the event as well.
Yeah, and you touched on the mental health aspect of that, and in the music industry, there's a lot of challenges, mental health challenges, and and even the substance abuse and things like that, and which is again similar in the military and veteran and first responder community. So it's no genre has a monopoly on it, right?
No, and music just has that special way of like speaking to people, tapping into some emotion that you can't find words for, and
exactly.
help you work through happiness, pain, trauma, whatever. Music is just special in that way.
Yeah, and I'm going to send you. I got to send you this testimonial that you can share. It's a little bit long, but
awesome! Would love to.
That.
Yeah,
about how the music, again helps with these things, because music is a healer.
Sure.
And it impacts different people in different ways. And we were talking about previously, before the recording, about some of the artists or performers, and sometimes like the lyrics they write or whatever, and some people interpret it different ways than others, but quite often they're personal experiences. But as the listener, we don't always make that connection. But then sometimes, like when we read the liner notes or something like that, it's like, wow, that's me.
Totally. Yeah, right? Yeah. Absolutely. Or what we hope our show does is, by providing a window into the songwriter's psyche or their inspiration, it can maybe bring that song to life in a way that wasn't obvious on the front end, and then it just adds such texture and color to that song the next time you hear it. So that's some of the stuff that I guess we're hoping to be able to accomplish here. But let's visit the site to kind of promote it and maybe kind of show people just that next step should they want to participate either as a veteran and first responder or as a donor. So here is vettix.org, and up in the top right corner you can see there's a donate now. So you obviously can just flat out donate funds, but there's other ways that I wanted to kind of touch on here. So if you want to tell me where to navigate to, I would love to kind of highlight a couple of things that you want to make sure people are aware of.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate that. And look, and from a donate funds perspective, 100% of every dollar donated goes to buying more tickets. And as a nonprofit, we operate at over 99%. So
that's impressive.
Over 99% of what we bring in, we buy more tickets with.
Yeah, I can highlight that down here. These little emblems down here are all not easy to earn, badges of honor on being a very well-run nonprofit. So should anybody want to validate any of that before donating, here's you can click on any one of these and you'll see their reports, and it's really, really, really a well-run organization.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out. And so, along the top there, it's got the Get Tickets, Heroes Wish, the team, so on and so forth. So, the Get Tickets drop down, that's where you can see how many current events there are nationwide today. And it's kind of like, for us, every day is Veterans Day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not just November 11th. Like, every day we distribute over 10,000 tickets to veterans and service members and first responders for events. And so, yeah, like this is where you have to get tickets. You have to become a member and log in, because years and years ago, it used to be like you could see all the open events if you weren't a member, and people would just kind of browse and be like, oh, there's nothing on here that interests me, so I'm not going to sign up. But again, signing up, creating an account, it's free. It takes like less than 5 minutes. It's that easy.
Right. And that's over here on the right side. Log in or
exactly.
sign up. Yeah.
On the our impact drop down, if you do that feedback, that 16, I mean, these are the testimonials. These are the thank yous that we share with our donors, and you can see who it was donated by, and, Train and REO Speedwagon. I mean, these are, these are, pretty legit events that, our donors donate to, and we share these thank yous with our donors, so our donors can see the gratitude that our VetTix members or First Tix members have for these donations, the gratitude and the impact of it.
Sure.
And so that's really cool.
I thought
Heroes Wish.
Yeah, I thought this was really neat. I was hoping you would touch on this.
Yeah, our Heroes Wish program is where, if there's a, severely wounded veteran or somebody that came back from a deployment, and, they've got like a wish, like a lot of them are, hey, I always want to take my family to Disneyland or Disney World, or
some of them are
whatever.
in here.
Yeah.
And what I loved about it was there's kind of like, the important part is to realize there's no donation too small. Like sometimes people might think, oh, I can't make too much of a contribution. But I love the fact that you basically roster of the current wish who's chipped away at it. And you can see donations from $10, up to, $125. So no one's sitting here trying to get to the full $900. But right now this person has 290 left to fulfill this wish. And you can just keep chipping away at it. And I think it's a really powerful thing. It's like such a power of community, and, just take one little step forward. And there's a bunch of different wishes listed in here, and you get to read the story and what the interest is and where the kind of current status is. I just thought this was a very cool place to come if you wanted to be a donor and really make an impact on one person's, life.
Yeah. And then I think on that drop down, there's the actual testimonials, some of the thank yous.
Yep.
Yeah, like, so this is, these are the thank yous that, is it on this one, or like we've got one of the pages, it's like after the wish was fulfilled.
Right.
There's the thank you feedbacks from there. Let's see. But again, and like you said, like with those heroes' wishes,
right?
It's tax deductible. I mean, that donation is, if it's $10, you get the, you get the form, the tax form, and like a lot of times what happens is that like when you pay your delivery fee, and you check out, and it'll be like, hey, do you want to make a donation and you can donate to Tickets for Troops, which is the program, for the tickets, or there's the Heroes Wish. So it's like, hey, I want to donate $5 to Heroes Wish. So you can do that, or you can donate $5 to, Tickets for Troops or whatever. And again, 100% of that $5 or however much goes towards buying tickets or that wish.
Right. No, it's amazing. Again, just an incredible organization of, like you said, a beautiful idea that was hatched in a very grassroots, small scale, and now over 23 million tickets donated to veterans and first responders so that they can, have a special moment. And I just think it's a great organization, and I was hoping to shine a light on it and hope to get more people getting involved.
No, I really appreciate you doing that. And again, it's like if you're a veteran or a service member or first responder and you're watching this, go to the vettix.org or firsttix.org, or if you have a family member or a friend that meets the criteria, let them know about it, because we want more people to sign up, because we want more people to take advantage of this, to go to the events.
Yep.
And again, this is how we can give something to those who gave.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen Weintraub, Chief Strategy Officer of VetTix.org, thank you so much for all you do for your service, and hope to catch you at a live show soon.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I love that.
Absolutely. Thanks again. So there is Stephen and a wonderful organization, Veteran Tickets Foundation and VetTix.org. Please definitely check that out. And if you qualify, start taking advantage of it. And if you want to chip in and help out and donate, by all means. And again, if you're a venue, if you're connected to a venue in some way, very kind of easy thing to do to be able to maybe donate, even if it's 2 tickets to the current lineup or something like that. Like that could go a long way for somebody. So definitely keep that in mind and find a way to make a difference.
All right, Phil, let's say goodbye to everybody.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Your Next Favorite Band. We'd like to sincerely thank Stephen Weintraub, the Chief Strategy Officer of VetTix.org, for joining us today, for providing all the very important details of their organization and how they formed, and all the differences that they're making, and the ways that we can all kind of learn more about the next steps at VetTix.org. So we will be linking in the show notes to their site, to the YouTube channel, so you can watch other videos, and any of the other elements that would be important to be aware of. And we'll also post that testimonial about music in particular and how it can be quite therapeutic, because obviously that's what our show is about, is the music, but don't forget it can be used for sporting events and for a lot of other ticketed type things. And then there's that hero's wish portion, which is just clearly very powerful and could be big time important for somebody out there who served. As always, our hope here is to bring you your next favorite band. So if you tuned in today because you were either aware of VetTix.org or wanted to learn more about them, thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you liked what you heard and what you saw, and you might consider subscribing and following us. The YouTube channel is a great way to catch the on-demand videos of the interviews, and we also release these as our podcast episodes, so you can always subscribe to that on anywhere where you get your podcasts. And we have so much good content coming up here. So keep tabs on us on social or on nextfavorite.com for all the great Music Fest content and into the fall. Hope to see you at a live show soon.